things often don't seem for what they really are. And unless you stay focused and you avoid being distracted, you use your eyes wisely, you keep them open, and you keep your ears also on high alert, and you observe clearly, you will be able to see things for what they really are. One of those occasions are today. I know you wake up in the morning, depending on which region you're from, and you wake up, you look at the market, and you're distracted, like, we're down again 6% for the day. What's going on? What's happening? Why is the market so down? And immediately you get pulled into uncertainty, fear, doubt, and you start going through your social media platforms to get some answers. And before you know it, you are drawn into that vicious cycle of negativity, of noise. And before you know it, you miss the biggest opportunity or the biggest event that you're supposed to keep your eyes on the price for. And this is exactly the session today, community. I want us to really focus and keep our eyes on the price and see what's coming before it hits us. So let's kickstart. Why is the market down? Today, it's very straightforward. So what happened right now is the US Air Force directly was involved in striking Iran overnight. So officials, this is something that has been confirmed. So the war is on. The war is on. Now, one disclaimer. I don't believe in coincidences. Everything that happens, and this is not restricted to the crypto space. This is in life in general. Things happen for a reason. There's reason why things happen. And this is exactly an event like that. There's a reason why the US chose a weekend when the markets are closed on a Saturday night to help strike and start a war. There's a reason why. We'll get to the bottom of that. So anyway, this is what's happening. This is what caused the market to immediately slump. So President Trump came up talking about how the US may face casualties in the operation in Iran, and lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. This is brand new article. This just now. There's maybe an hour ago. And you can hear himself talking about that. Let's hear himself saying it.
Seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran seeks to kill. The lives of courageous.
Here we hear it. So it's a full-blown war now. It's not talks anymore. Gloves are off. There's a war going on, and airstrikes have been made. And to make it even more blunt, many nations such as Qatar, Iraq, even the UAE, they all have already actually issued their airspace to be completely closed. So they're closing their airspace, meaning that no flights leaving or coming into the country, right? Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, UAE, Iraq, and many, many more have already done that, even Israel itself. So they've closed the airspace completely. And this is what has caused, obviously, the markets to go down like this. And keep in mind, 50 billion were lost, 50 billion in just the past hour. Within 1 hour, 50 billion US dollars left the crypto market. Again, this on a weekend where there's really low liquidity going on, and you see this red candle. And 50 billion don't just leave like that within an hour. This is obviously a liquidation cascade. So the way that works is a chain reaction. Once you get liquidated, it causes a chain reaction because there's liquidations are set at certain prices. So let's say liquidation started at 65, and somebody put is being liquidated at 64 and 63 and so on and so forth. So it just triggers other liquidations. One liquidation triggers another group of liquidations, and this is how, before you know it, you get a big fat candle like this, and the markets are just in extreme fear right now. So this is, in short, community, the reason why you see the markets in red like this. Like I said at the beginning, there's no coincidences happening. There's a reason. There's a specific reason why this is happening. And it's called stablecoin yield. It's called, right here, it's called the deadline of tomorrow. There's a deadline March 1st. There's a deadline for the crypto market structure bill. That's the deadline, is tomorrow. So the reason that I say there's no coincidence, there's two reasons why the US decided to strike today. First of all, distraction. Distract, and we'll get to the bottom why. Distract on what? Distract all the noise and keep people busy in fear. Secondly, get in as low as possible. The markets are crashing, liquidations are happening, and by tomorrow, my guess is it's going to get passed. This bill is going to get passed tomorrow. It's going to move forward, and it's going to bring a huge, it's going to be the trigger, the catalyst for a really bullish market moving forward, because this is exactly the structure that is holding back all the liquidity from happening, all the institutions from getting involved, and all the liquidity, all these projects that are standing in the sidelines to enter. And it's also what's holding back literally global mainstream adoption. And as we progress, we'll see why. So that's the distraction that is keeping us from tomorrow's deadline. And it's supposed to keep us distracted so that we don't take advantage of something that is huge, that is coming towards us. And this is something that affects us directly. So while we're being distracted, laws are being put in place that are keeping us away from earning yield from the stable coins, right? So this affects crypto companies and stablecoin holders like you and I. And there will be no yield on idle balances. So if you hold, just holding stablecoins, you're not going to earn yield. That's a given. That's a given. So the draft makes it clear that firms will not be able, or rather not be allowed, to offer rewards simply for holding stablecoins. So the savings account style yield model is effectively off the table. And this is exactly what the banks wanted, because imagine if you're a crypto company and you can participate in being a stablecoin issuer, like Circle, for example, and you giving stablecoin rewards, you're sharing the stablecoin rewards with your holders in the billions of dollars in revenue, because eventually stablecoin issuers are going to hold tens and hundreds of billions dollars worth of treasuries and earn yield on it. And if they were able to share this with the holders, the banks will go bankrupt, because now nobody wants to deposit their income with the banks, but rather with crypto companies to earn yield just on their idle sitting stable coins. So this is exactly what's going on, and it directly involves us. These are things that are laws that are being put in place while we are being distracted with all these wars and all this noise and all these things that are happening. Meanwhile, the future of finance, which literally is on the back of yield and staking, is being made without us, retailers. And this is the distraction that is happening right now. But I want to make it clear that the future of finance literally is in yield-bearing assets. That's the future of DeFi. Yield-bearing assets. Staking is at the heart of it all. But don't take my word for it. I would like us to really hear it from one of my favorite YouTube channels that I really like to watch is Paul Barron Network. So all credits to him. And I just like to hear what he has to say here just briefly in regards to where the future of DeFi is headed. The impact of yield-bearing assets or yield-bearing opportunities, specifically in DeFi, from all these DeFi applications. In our last video on YouTube, we talked about and we made example of the importance of sustainable staking rewards, staking platforms, and how most of them are actually causing inflation. They don't either inflation or they don't have sustainable staking rewards. There's always something, a challenge that they don't address. So we are left with unsustainable, inefficient staking platforms in DeFi. Meanwhile, we're being distracted today with all these war situations. Meanwhile, tomorrow, our financial future is on the line, and we're being so distracted we don't even pay attention to it. So anyway, let's listen to just what he has to say.
Is only going to win through abstraction. And this is going to be the scenario. I think all of you, what I mean by that is DeFi will become your home. You're going to see more dollars. Now, it is going to be the crypto native, but I think people are going to start to learn. Maybe finally, people are waking up to what is happening in our administration and in our government that will start to put us in a position where we can go out there and shop the best rates. Guys, I am very anti-bank right now. Because of that, what that means is you're going to see a rush, especially with crypto natives, into staking things like Ethereum and other assets where you can start to get more. When we start to supersede the inflation rates, which will probably be somewhere around 2.5% to 3% by that time, we will start to see staking become the only way to hold money as opposed to cash, because cash essentially would be losing its value from the onset right now. It used to be.
So you got the point, you got the message. Staking is going to be the absolute #1 way in DeFi and in TradFi to make money. It's going to be at the heart of everything, because keep in mind, staking involves security and stability. Proof of stake blockchain, where the future of DeFi is being built on top, is, like we know, is Ethereum, and Ethereum is a proof of stake blockchain. And the more Ethereum is staked, the more stable and the more secure it becomes. And this staking gives us yield, preferably yield that is deflationary, that does not cause inflation. So staking is the way for us to earn passively and to grow wealth. And many still don't even understand that. And as we're being distracted with airstrikes in Iran and all this noise, our future, financial future, is hanging on the balance. Within the next 24 hours, it's going to go through. Most probably, it's going to go through. So let's look at the importance of staking. It's so important, community, that even Morgan Stanley is applying for a US trust bank charter. So Morgan Stanley they're applying for one. Why? So that they can expand into the crypto custody and what? Staking. Why are they doing that exactly today? Why are they doing this on February 28th? One day before the deadline, because they know something that we don't know. And we'll look at another chart that points out even more why we need to understand that they know things that we don't know yet. So Morgan Stanley wants to get into crypto custody. You can charge fees just by custodying crypto assets, and of course staking, of course. So staking like Ethereum and other proof of stake tokens. So staking is at the heart of everything, community. If you want to make money in the future of finance in DeFi, you need to be part of a staking community, a staking platform. But with these institutions, you have to be whitelisted. You can't just participate. You can't come with your $100 or $50 and want to be part of it. You need to be whitelisted. You need to be approved. You need to be so-called qualified investor, right? So community, with that said, let's look at one more thing. So Morgan Stanley say that it plans to provide crypto custody, trading, and staking services, right? And this is why it's applying for a bank charter. And like I said, all of these, besides Bitcoin, you can stake and earn Bitcoin, obviously, but proof of stake tokens such as Ethereum, Solana, and these they want to have them as ETFs, right? It also said that Wall Street financial companies are stepping up entry into the crypto market as the regulatory environment shifts and the Trump administration takes a more digital asset-friendly stance. What a coincidence. And I'm being ironic. I don't believe in coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. So them jumping in so quickly, and they tell you how Wall Street financial companies are stepping into the crypto market because regulations are shifting. And the main and the last regulation that is holding these institutions from getting in is tomorrow's decision. Clarity, right? The clarity vote. So now that we know that, let's look at something even further. Staking is so important and yield-bearing assets are so important that the World Liberty Financial, which is a crypto venture backed by the family of the president, Trump, they said on Wednesday that they filed an application with the US banking regulators to what? To establish a national trust bank focused on what? Stablecoin operations. Why? Because stablecoin gives you yield. And now with the law that is being passed tomorrow, and with the Genius Act already passed, they can keep all these stablecoin operationals yield for themselves. And there'll be a lot of revenue to be made. Lots of revenue. And the president himself and his family, they want a piece of it. And this is exactly what I want us to understand. And another thing I want us to understand here is that this didn't sit well with Elizabeth Warren, right? It didn't sit well with her. And she said that as soon as you approve the application, and she was talking to Gold, right? He's literally the sitting at the committee OCC. He's the one involved with approving these banking licenses. And he was literally telling this individual that as soon as you approve that application, and the beautiful thing is here, we all know you're going to approve it. So there's no secret. You're going to go from being a cheerleader for President Trump to an accomplice in his corruption. The point I'm trying to make here, community, is that you can't stop this train from happening. They say even she's a member of the politics. She's a politician herself. But even she says, we all know you're going to approve it. You won't care. You'll pass it. And this is, community, what I want us to understand, that while all these distractions are happening, real money is positioning themselves and things are happening behind our backs while we're being distracted. So let's keep our focus and understand what's happening and seize the opportunities that are right in front of us. Another thing that happened with this World Liberty Financial Company that is led by President Trump and his family, right before he was sworn in as a president, the UAE, the royal family from the UAE, acquired 49% stake of this company. 49%, and it was roughly 500 million, so $500 million, that President Trump and his family received for their 49% stake in this company. And I'll stop at this. The reason why I'm pointing this out is just the seriousness of all of this. So this is not just limited to US. Royal family from the UAE is involved now. They probably cut a deal amongst themselves to be part of this stablecoin venture. In turn, they are going to maybe close a deal on oil deals or whatever the case may be. Who knows? But this just shows you the extent to what politicians are willing to go to pass through policies, whether it's legal or not. And they even say, we know you're going to approve it anyway. And things like this happening right before president was sworn in office. This is how serious things are, community. Meanwhile, we're being distracted and we're losing sight on what's important, what's happening. And all of these things involve us directly. This is the future of finance happening right in front of our eyes. So another thing is that I want us to understand is that mainstream adoption has not taken place yet. But starting this year, 2026, is the year of mainstream adoption. Meta, as we know, better known as Facebook, they are now jumping back into the stablecoin market, not as having their own, but they want to integrate it from existing stablecoins. So the second half of 2026, they want to start integrating all of that into their services. And let's look at this even closer. So Meta, as we say, better known as Facebook, they sent out a request for product to third-party firms to help administer stablecoin-based payments, right? And what happened is, in 2019, they already had come out with they introduced the Libra stablecoin, but they were shut down due to the regulatory scrutiny. So they don't want to go through all that route again. They already went through that. They tried it. They were shut down. They don't want to start. It's not easy to start your own stablecoin. You have to bring adoption. It has to be like, you have to have Rails infrastructures in place. You have to have licenses, not just locally, like in the US, but in the EU and other regions in the world. You have to have so many things in place. But Meta is a tech company. They're not a financial company. So they want to partner with existing third-party stablecoin payment company. That's what they want. So right now, what we are being told right now is that Stripe, which acquired stablecoin firm Bridge last year, was mentioned by a source as likely candidate for piloting Meta's stablecoin. My humble personal opinion, I doubt that this is going to be the case, simply because let me justify my point. I doubt that it's going to be Bridge. I might be wrong, but let me state my case. The reason why I doubt is because, first of all, Bridge it's a stablecoin infrastructure company owned by Stripe. It's a very young company, just got acquired. It doesn't have large rails yet. It doesn't have a market-leading stablecoin in its inventory yet. It doesn't have infrastructures in place, because these stablecoin issuers, they have to have a market. And you might say, well, they'll get that market through Facebook, right? But Facebook doesn't have time to wait and start from scratch and get the adoption. You need infrastructure, you need licenses, you need partnerships with institutions that have deep liquidity, and Bridge just doesn't have that yet. So anyway, they received, however, conditional approval from the OCC, which stands for the Office of Control and Currency, to establish a national trust bank, right? And this will allow them to issue, manage, and hold reserves for stablecoins, right? So now they'll be able to issue, manage, and hold. But I want to bring something to our attention here. Bridge, for example, there's no evidence that Bridge stablecoin platform has secured a MiCA license. Keep in mind, MiCA is Europe. It's a license that covers the whole of Europe. So MiCA, which stands for Markets in Crypto Assets, it's a regulation. Let's see this. For crypto asset service providers and stablecoin issuers, it came into full effect, right? Mid-2026. And Bridge focuses on stablecoin infrastructure and cross-border payments. However, it doesn't have that. It doesn't have this MiCA license. It doesn't have it. Neither does it have, it got the approval, but it doesn't have the banking license in the US either. So meanwhile, Circle not only has, but it was the first global stablecoin to achieve full compliance with the European Union's MiCA. July 1st, 2 years ago, almost 1.5, let's say. They were the first one to acquire it already. And this is a major difference. Not only that, even in Europe, they already have euro stablecoins as well. That is also compliance with the new EU regulations. So not only do they have US dollar stablecoins, but they have the euro stablecoin as well to cover the entire European Union market. They have the licenses for it, and they were the first to do so. And in the US, they're also the most regulated. And they also happen to be the second best or the second largest cryptocurrency right now. I mean, stablecoin right now. So you don't want, Meta doesn't have the time to start from scratch and start small. They want to go in big, especially now that they're already being scrutinized and they really don't have the time, or they don't want to take the time to issue their own stablecoins. They want to pick the best possible, the one that is the most regulated, the one that has the most liquidity, has the most licenses across the world, the one that because Meta obviously is US based, so they want to partner with the largest US based stablecoin, and that's hands down, it's USDC. So in my humble opinion, I believe the most likely to go with Circle's USDC stablecoin. And this is another point that proves my point. So this crypto market structure build that we are also focusing on, it's not really about crypto. It's about who gets to manufacture a digital dollar at scale. It's all about who gets the green light to be a money printer. So far, it's been monopolized. The Feds have been the ones printing by themselves. But now, this new financial era we're entering, every stablecoin issuer is now a manufacturer of digital dollar, and they can do this at scale. You want to do it at scale. How can you do something at scale? And this is exactly the question that the point I'm trying to make. You want to partner with already a large network stablecoin that is partnered already with the likes of JP Morgan, BlackRock, all these tokenized assets that are taking place. They already will be taking advantage of USDC directly. So you want to hit the road running, because this is a race of who gets to manufacture digital dollar at scale. And if you come in and you don't want to issue your own, you want to partner with the best and the one that is the most likely to win this race. And in terms of US, hands down, it's USDC. And because Meta is highly regulated and headquartered in the US, it's the safest bet to go. I might be wrong, but in my humble opinion, I believe they're going to go with USDC. And I'll further prove even why, or state my point why. So what's happening here is that individuals, whether it's a bank or crypto platform, they all want to give their holders a legally high yield savings product, right? Without bank level rules. That's the whole point, community. And the deadline is March 1st, which is tomorrow. Back to why I believe Meta is going to pick Circle. Meta has, they call it a family of applications, right? We know Facebook, which also has Messenger, is Facebook Messenger, then Instagram and WhatsApp. Combined, these applications have a daily active user base of 3.5 billion. This is daily. So more than 3.5 billion daily users, daily active users are in the Meta family. So starting with a brand new stablecoin that has not proven itself, that doesn't have any infrastructures built, that has no connections to tokenized assets in infrastructures like with BlackRock and JP Morgan and the Visas and the MasterCards, and are part of the rails and are building a bridge between TradFi and DeFi, like we're about to see. you don't have time to wait for all of that. It's a competition, it's a race. You want to go with the one that is already has all that set in place. And right now, who has the capacity, the liquidity, the networks, the infrastructures, the connections is USDC stablecoin. They're by far the largest US-based stablecoin and the second largest in the world. And this is why I humbly believe, in my opinion, that they're going to go with it. But that's besides the point. The point is that these are 3.5 billion individuals. This is how you bring mainstream adoption. That was my point. But this mainstream adoption cannot come when there is no clarity bill. So this clarity bill is going to open the gates to these 3.5 billion users, daily active users. They're already accustomed. They're already using these platforms. They don't have to change anything. All that is going to change, like all these Instagram models or users or celebrities, they're being paid. So now, instead of going through banks and waiting for days and all that inconvenience and all these fees that they're being hit with through Visa and MasterCard, what if they can use stable coins like they're planning to do? All these ad revenues that they're giving out on Facebook. Imagine now you can remit funds back and forth to your families wherever they are from using the application that Meta is using, Facebook is using. You can send it through their messenger, through IG, WhatsApp, whatever the case may be. And instantly you have half of the world's population at your disposal. This is how you bring mainstream adoption. And this can't happen unless Clarity Act comes place, which takes place tomorrow. Meanwhile, we're being distracted with all these airstrikes of Iran, all this noise, all these things are happening. Meanwhile, we need to focus on what's happening right now so we can make the right decisions and keep a cool, level-minded head. I really want us to understand something. 3.5 billion daily users right now between Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Messenger. 3.5 daily active. As of now, global cryptocurrency users globally at between half a billion and 800. So let's pick the larger number. There's only 860 million users versus Meta alone has 3.5 billion. So you see what we mean when we say mainstream adoption. So in 16 years, we were able to manage to have, we still haven't hit $1 billion users, sorry. We still have not hit 1 billion users yet after 16 years. But within a day, within the first hour, within the first minute, Meta has the potential to reach 3.5 billion of its daily users instantly, just like that, globally, on a global scale. So stablecoin is going to once more penetrate into all these different markets instantly, because this so-called family are all over Asia, Africa, Europe. All those regions are using Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or whatever the case may be. Some more than others. But the point remains is that they have already 3.5 billion new daily active users at their disposal the moment they accept stablecoin use on their platforms. So what I want to understand, the point that I'm trying to make here is that we were looking at Meta. What about Google? Do you know that Google has over 4 billion people using Google search worldwide? So Meta is already at 3.5 billion, which is huge, half of the world's population. But here we are, Google has over 4 billion. And this represents over 1 billion more users than YouTube. Now keep in mind, YouTube is owned by Google also. But the point remains is that Google has even more users, daily users, than Facebook. And YouTube and Facebook almost go head to head. YouTube has 2.7 billion daily users or monthly users, and Facebook has, like we just saw, 3.5. So just these three combined, you literally cover the world. This is how mainstream adoption is getting ready to come in. And you see that YouTube is dominant. It's a dominant global force. And like we say, 2.7 billion monthly active users as of early 2026. So this is how mainstream adoption community is going to come in. If you combine all those numbers from Facebook, from Google, from YouTube, from Instagram, WhatsApp, you'll realize that you literally cover or almost cover this 8 billion, the global population. Current world population is estimated at 8 billion. And we see how Google alone represents half of global population. And half of YouTube, literally half of YouTube, is half of the world right here, representing nearly half of all internet users are using YouTube or on YouTube. Nearly half of all users, internet users, are on YouTube. So imagine Google coming with their own or partnering with a stablecoin. You see what we mean with mainstream adoption. It will happen very quickly, very, very quickly. And this is not going to happen unless the Clarity Act gets passed, and the deadline is tomorrow. Just to make another point here, we've looked at Google and Meta. What about Apple? Imagine how many Apple devices are out there. So 2.3 billion active Apple devices worldwide. Imagine Apple doing the same, integrating stablecoins as well into all these devices globally. And these are smartphones, tablets, and massive service businesses as well. And even the App Store alone, it's attracting around over 800 million weekly active users. So you see the potential and the channels that will be used to bring mainstream adoption into this space using stablecoins. So the point I'm trying to make is that Circle is already, or rather has already received a conditional approval from the Office of Controller, OCC, to establish a national trust bank. They already have that. And they already have a name also called First National Digital Bank, Currency Bank. First National Digital Currency Bank. That's the name they gave themselves. And they already, as of December 2025, they already received a conditional approval to be a bank. They were the first to get the MiCA license, like we say, that covers the entire Europe. And besides all of this, they're the ones that partnered with BlackRock. And that BIDL, which is a tokenized fund, which is currently being traded in DeFi on DeFi platform Uniswap X, it's allowing, again, whitelisted institutional investors to swap BIDL, which is tokenized US treasuries, for what? Not for USDT, not for any other stablecoin, but USDC, 24/7. So this is exactly the point I'm trying to make. It's good to read things, but don't take things at their face value. Let's be critical. Let's think clearly. Let's try to use our God-given common sense. And let's observe. And if we do that, we often see things without having to wait for them to take place or to be literally confirmed to us before we make certain moves. There are certain things that if you just observe, you see them as clear as daylight. And if you have that talent, that gift, why don't you use it to your best advantage? We see what's happening in front of our faces. USDC is playing a major role in bringing tokenized real-world assets directly into DeFi, and then utilizing this for the decentralized rails faster, for more efficient settlements. And the whole idea for this community is the point we try to make here is that through BlackRock, this BIDL token that is actually on Ethereum, as we were about to see, BIDL is on Ethereum, is on the Ethereum blockchain, and it serves, once you hold it, it's a US Treasury, US bond, but it's a tokenized version, and you can directly swap it to USDC. This is the best infrastructure and utility use case that a stablecoin could have. This is another reason why I'm saying that if Meta is to pick a stablecoin they want to run with, why would they pick one that has to start from scratch? One that has not partnered with BlackRock, which is the most liquid and the largest asset manager in the world, that holds the largest tokenized US Treasury on Ethereum already, that you can directly swap with USDC on a 24/7 basis. The infrastructure is already there. But let's take this even further. The integration enables BIDL to be used as high quality, yield-bearing collateral within DeFi lending protocols. And it provides a bridge between traditional finance, traditional asset management, and decentralized markets. Do we understand how infrastructures are already in place? What else we don't need anything else. We already have tokenized treasuries. We already have, that is high quality, yield-bearing collateral. We don't have such a product in DeFi. BIDL is the only one. There is no other high quality. High quality means it's extremely liquid. We're looking at hundreds of trillions of dollars in liquidity, because all these tokenized assets that BlackRock are getting ready to bring on-chain on Ethereum, they'll need stablecoin to pair with them. And these stablecoins will need BIDL as reserves. And this BIDL is a high quality yield bearing collateral within DeFi lending platform. And it's the bridge between traditional asset management and DeFi platforms, DeFi markets. So like I say, if we look at things for what they really are, they become so obvious. So how do we position ourselves to make the most out of this community? How do we position ourselves to make the most out of this? And let's close with this. I always like to use public information. And none of this is financial advice, of course. This is just public information that we put together so that we share with the community so we're on the same page. As you see here, this chart is so straightforward. What is the number one? First of all, let me go up here. We're looking at tokenized US Treasuries right here. US Treasuries. These are tokenized US Treasuries. By far, the number one is BIDL. And then Circle is the second. The two that we were just talking about right now. And the reason why I kept saying that I believe that if Meta, Apple, YouTube, Google, whenever they're ready to start integrating existing stablecoins, they're going to go with Circle USDC, because USDC has partnered. They have a strategic partnership with BlackRock, BIDL. And BIDL is the most liquid, high, like we just saw, high quality, yield, interest bearing collateral. And that's what you need for your stable coins. And right now, BIDL has put in $500 million in the last 30 days alone. And USDC also have their own treasury, like we see here. It's called Circle USYC. And they also have over 100 million coming in. And there's literally no competition. Look at the other ones. Absolutely no competition. Ondo used to be one of the best ones, but they actually have an outflow. So BIDL and Circle are the leaders right now because they have infrastructures, deep liquidity, and they have everything laid out. And now, this last and final question, where is all these beetle and circle? Where are they taking place the most? Right here, as clear as daylight. You see it here, Ethereum. Ethereum is the platform of choice. This is the future of finance. This is where everything, all of this is taking place. And the irony is that tomorrow's deadline of Clarity Act is not even open yet. So these institutions have not even started yet. But nonetheless, by far, half of all these tokenized assets is on Ethereum. The second best is Binance, with 3 times less than what Ethereum has. So by the time these institutions, these financial institutions, receive the green light, we'll see even more inflows from Beetle and Circle. And we'll see even a larger share of Ethereum completely dominating this. Why? Because the infrastructures needed, the liquidity needed, the connections needed are already on Ethereum. The rails are there. So let's not get carried away with all these distractions that are taking place right now, community. I know this affects us all, and we pray for those that are involved in all of this, and we pray for their lives and health, and we pray that this can end as soon as possible. But let's remind ourselves that these are distractions, and things like this happen once in a lifetime, once in a generation. And if we don't focus and put our eyes on the price and understand that we only need to do this once, and everything is right in front of us, we're on the right blockchain, we're in the right ecosystem, and we are using the right staking platform. Staking is the future. We have a staking platform. And if your staking platform doesn't address the 4 challenges that we always talk about, specifically in our last community event as well, ensure that we looked in our last community event how, for example, Aave doesn't have a sustainable staking system, how it's inflationary, how it only sits on 16% of its total supply is being staked. We saw all of that, community. And what we didn't show last time is how much our tokens are staked, specifically Bull Run is staked. And I'd like to take the opportunity and just highlight the importance to see how staking plays a major role, community. It's the future. That's how the financial system will be running on staking platforms. So the number one wallet here is a contract. It's our staking contract. And almost 72% of our total supply is already staked. And if we are among the top most staked cryptocurrencies, if not the number one most staked cryptocurrencies, you can do your own research. Even Ethereum right now is at 30%. 30% of total supply, Ethereum's total supply is staked. So we are at 72%. We are in the top of the most staked cryptocurrencies already. And to maintain this, you need to have a certain tokenomics. For a staking platform, you need to have a supply that is shrinking. We started with a max supply of 1 million. We've burnt already 40,000, over 40,000 of our supply and removed from the total supply. So our max supply went from 1 million to now 959,000. So now you're holding a staking platform token that has a supply that is reduced with every trade, that retains liquidity with every trade, that accumulates staking rewards in form of USDC with every trade, and that is using its volume efficiently to keep everything together. And even right now, before this liquidity rush, already has close to 72% of its total supply staked already. So community, none of this, again, is financial advice. But what we're saying is that in the midst of all this noise, all this chaos, let's keep our eyes on the price. We already know that we're in the right blockchain. So liquidity that is coming our way is going to benefit us. But we don't want to rest there. We want to also be in the right ecosystem. Be part of an ecosystem that works for us. Because all these regulations that are coming work only for those that are whitelisted or those that have millions and millions in their portfolio. But who's going to think about us retailers? Who's going to develop a staking platform for us where all of us can participate? That is truly decentralized, that we have full authority and autonomy over our assets. We know it's going to take place on Ethereum. We know we already have a staking platform that has a supply that is literally scarce. It's reduced. We have all the 4 challenges addressed: liquidity, inflation, sustainable staking, and efficient use of volume. Let's focus on that and let's get ready for what's coming, community. All these distractions might, if we don't pay attention, distract us and make us miss the largest opportunity we ever had in our generation. So let's stay focused, community. Let's understand what we discussed today, and let's see the opportunity for what it really is. We are on Ethereum already. We are on the Bullrun ecosystem already. And we're already holding Bullrun tokens that we are staked at 72% of the supply is staked. And now the liquidity is coming in, the infrastructures are being put in place. Tomorrow, Clarity Bill is going to get passed and moved to the next stage. And everything is lining up for us perfectly, community. So let's be uplifted and encouraged that what's coming our way is for us to win. And we're going to win, and our time is here. So let's keep a positive attitude. Let's keep our spirits high, and let's be on high alert. Let's look at things for what they really are, and let's keep our eyes on the price. With that said, community, I want to wish everyone a beautiful rest of the weekend. Till we meet again, community. Bye-bye, everyone.